he's going to be breaking 200 pounds. He's lost almost 150 pounds, but he tripled his strength.
Wow.
I got him on our protein. I got him on our greens. He's getting conscious. It's funny taking a guy that was actually dying. He was on prescription drugs for his back, his high blood pressure. He was on 4 different medications. I got him, his testosterone was 160. The stupid doctors are giving him testosterone injections every 3 weeks. I got him off testosterone. His own testosterone was only 160. I got it up to 700 naturally by working out properly and through, the superfoods with the protein, and his whole life changed. I'm going to make him a Sunwarrior representative down here in South Florida and tell his story. I'm actually putting a DVD together of his progress in the last year. So he'll be like a Jared. He'll be like my spokesperson, like Subway's got Jared.
Yeah.
He'll be a spokesperson with plant-based nutrition, actually putting muscle on, losing 150 pounds. So it's fun. It's kind of fun what I'm doing here. It's kind of, people need to see this stuff, and follow like he did. I didn't make him a vegetarian overnight. What I did, I got him on an 80-20, I call it. 80% plant-based. I left him that 20% leeway. But I said, if you are going to eat any animal products, let's get fertile eggs that are on the farm. So I have a organic produce by me where it's all local.
Mm-hmm.
So if he is going to have whether it be raw yogurt or raw cheese or raw, so I left him some leeways to make a vegetarian omelet, or so. And if he did eat any fish, they had this wild salmon that came in. So I gave him a 20% leeway, but his body, there was a period he went like about 2 months where he ate a piece of meat and he got sick on it. So that's telling you something. His body's rejecting it. You see? But I took it slow with him over a year's time. So he's like about a 90% plant-based guy right now. He's got about a 10% window when his body really craves. So it's kind of a good journey for him. I'm letting people become their own expert.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I teach right now. Start replacing stuff. Go slow. Let your body take you where it's supposed to go. You don't have to have this war of the vegetarians, and it's like the Republicans and Democrats. The way I look at it, they're always fighting. They never can come to work together. I'm trying to teach people, okay, it don't have to be this war. Let's start somewhere. Let's start replacing some of those animal-based meals with plant-based, and let's make them taste good. So that's kind of what I've been preaching here.
Well, good, man. I mean, we just within my close circle of friends, we have several success stories just like that. My father being one of them. In his early 60s, been a runner his whole life, but has always struggled. Just been, a little bit on the heavier side, and just never really knew why. So about last Christmas, we put together like a little bit of a plan. He said, "Okay, write me out a plan, and we'll do it." And and a lot of that was getting rid of, like I said, a lot of the animal products and the processed dairy products and refined sugars, white carbs, all that type of stuff, the basic stuff, and that, just with that, within a couple months, he was able to, lose the 25 pounds, drop the cholesterol, all that, but he was feeling weak without the energy, all that type of stuff. Probably a lot of the typical things that you see when somebody does a complete switch over very, very quickly, and is still exercising every day, running, working out, all that. And so what we were actually able to do is supplement in the Sunwarrior protein, and that brought his energy levels right back up, So it was really cool to see with my father,
I like that. That's the key, and I notice a lot of people in the raw food or the vegetarian community, they hear a lot, well, you don't need a lot of protein. Well, yes and no. I think when you don't get enough protein, you're kind of always starving for something, and you're in imbalance. A perfect balance for me is having a good plant-based raw protein that's clean, easy to, bioavailable where your body absorbs it. And see, I'm from the old school. I like smaller meals and a little more frequent. I eat anywhere from 4 to 5 feedings a day, where it's just I'm trickling in the nutrients, different nutrition at different times, but my body is never hungry. I'm always in peak condition. I still train like a nut, going on 60. I still do leg presses with 1,000 pounds. I handle workloads like the young guys at the gym are like, this guy's a nut. And there's a reason for it. I cleanse and build. I've come to the conclusion there's a cleansing phase where your body's just going to get weak, you're tired. And I remember when I first started cleansing out and really detoxing, and I was breaking out. I'm like, but there's a period you start rebuilding again. And that's where the good plant-based nutrition comes in, the protein. And the thing is, if you're going to work out hard, put on muscle, and trigger your metabolism, I believe you need good protein in you. You know, not the heavy animal protein like the bodybuilders do, because you hit a wall. When you hit around 45, 50, you can see a lot of the old athletes, or even, you know, some of the movie stars, you know, like Arnold and stuff. You start getting a little weird looking at the end, because a lot of them will try to keep that up, and a lot of them are taking growth hormone now, you know, and they're getting a weird look. Or, you know, I see pictures of Arnold when he was on the beach. I don't know if you've seen some his body breaks out, but there's going to be a period where you cleanse and put good plant-based protein back in, and you can build with that. You can put muscle on with that. And that's kind of what I'm teaching. You don't have to be a little wimpy guy under a tree. You can actually put good quality muscle that's clean, and you get strong again. So after you start cleansing, you can go into a rebuilding phase, I call it. And that's what I've been doing with this Pat guy. You know, I showed him, he was so toxic. He was breaking out, and I get out the prescription drugs, and he was throwing up. His skin, he lost almost 150 pounds, and his skin's pretty good. I got him dry brush massaging, putting aloe vera, you know, fresh leaves, you know, rubbing it on the skin with coconut oil. But I combine the protein with a good fat, you know, good raw coconut oil or some good fats with that, where you keep a good balance, you know. So, yeah, that's what I'm trying to teach you. You can put muscle and be vibrant. You don't have to be hungry. And that's kind of the trip we're going on with the protein stuff. Well, I'm glad you're utilizing it. What have you noticed kind of taking it stuff?
Well, I mean, me personally, you know, it was probably about 2.5 to 3 years ago that I really started getting into the health phase. I just kind of had one of those. I got out of corporate America and I started looking at different things that I wanted to do, and health obviously came up. And that was really when I started realizing that everything I thought I knew about health was just marketing. And I was like, wow, I consider myself a fairly intelligent person, and I have had the wool completely pulled over my eyes. You know, I grew up in Ohio. I live in Southern California now, and it's two completely different worlds. Like the things they're talking about in Southern California right now are 10 years ahead of what they're talking about in Ohio. So when I talk to my friends back there, you know, they're still drinking the same Kool-Aid. So it just kind of reinforces the fact that we really need to spread this. But, you know, just from a personal standpoint, I work out every morning, and I either surf or go rock climbing or, you know, something like that every afternoon. You know, so I work at the whole in-between time, and I work pretty much till I fall asleep at night, you know. So I'm doing everything I love to do, but I'm going all day. So I'm like you, I need sustained energy all the way through, with 2 or 3 places where I'm really going to be taxing my body, which is like pretty early in the morning, and then again around 4 or 5, whether it be surfing or rock climbing or whatever it may be, you know. So I'm pretty much going to be using everything I put into my body. So I really started looking at what I was putting into it, and you know, started switching over from all the different all the different animal products and the animal proteins. And keep in mind, my first job was actually at a GNC, so I've tried everything, you know. And I was taking, you know, I took all the Muscle Tech stuff, I took all the Xenadrins, like all that stuff, because I would get it very cheap, or if it was returned, you could sometimes get it for free. So I've tried everything, and I've always been about 200 pounds. That was just where I was. When I switched over, I'm 180 pounds now, and I feel stronger. I have more energy, you know, just the whole nine. Like, it's a much better weight for me. I can run longer, climb more, surf better, you know, just everything about it. It's just a healthier life and lifestyle for me, you know. So, and it's funny because I considered myself healthy before, you know, because I was active, you know. So, but I was still, I had 20 pounds of excess weight that was just there. It wasn't muscle, you know. It was there, you know. So, for me, it's been really cool just achieving that peak performance, you know.
Yeah, more efficient machine. You're getting the debris out, and you got more good quality. What you're going to notice, you have better quality muscle. You don't get as tired as easy. You're more conscious. There's so many things when you start eating good. You can just tell the difference. If you do have a low vibrational food, you can just tell right away.
It makes you tired. Yeah, it makes me so tired right away.
Exactly. That's kind of where I'm at right now. I can tell right away. That's what keeps me on my diet now. I tell you, before all these superfoods years ago, when I used to try to convert over all the time, I would be good for a month or so. I'd always break because I didn't have all these superfoods and stuff that made me feel balanced. And I wasn't really getting enough protein, I don't think, because I'd always want to cheat. After about a month or so, I was cleansing. All of a sudden, I just, like, I don't know, I needed something. So that's where I feel like the protein helps me, keeps me more in balance. Or, you know, it get that extra, having that extra protein, it kept me in balance where I didn't feel like I had to cheat, you know, and go off my diet and then go back on. I was a teeter-totter guy on a vegetarian diet for years. I mean, in the early stage, I'm talking about in the 70s, and then, you know, I went into bodybuilding, and I came out of that in my 40s. I was still having a hard time because we didn't have a lot of these foods we have right now. We didn't have a lot of these, you know, the different array of stuff that I take now. And, you know, probably in the last 5 years, there's so much good stuff out there, you know, with the medicinal mushrooms and the Ayurvedic herbs and our plant-based protein. I mean, you have a combination of all this stuff. It keeps me like a high efficient machine now, you know. So I would have a hard time going back to what I was doing without all this other stuff now, because my body works at such a high peak level, creativity wise and just work wise, and you know, it's just I don't get tired. You know, it's funny. It's a cool journey.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Just for I know we talked about it briefly earlier, but can you just describe for the people who may not have you know, seen the first segment that I'm probably going to cut this video into. Can you explain the two differences in the proteins that you have now? Why one person would take one over the other, and possibly how to combine them? I know we touched on it briefly.
Are you talking about the new protein I'm developing versus the right protein?
How you're going to have versus the original. So we're going to have two Sunwarrior protein products now. Which one should people be choosing? Which one's right for people?
Basically, the rice protein, it's raw and it's biofermented. It's kind of unique because it's biofermented and it's really highly absorbable. The amino acid structure is very close to mother's milk. Being biofermented, it's almost like when you sprout something, or it just makes it more bioavailable by the body. So that's what I like about our rice protein. And there's the added anti-cancer benefit. I can't talk about it, but Brian Clement, we became friends. You know, I followed Brian Clement for years because he's got the Hippocrates Health Institute, you know, over in the Palm Beach, which is about an hour drive from me. Mm-hmm. And I went to visit him because he was actually buying our protein. I'm going, why is Brian Clement? He was ordering our protein. He's actually, I found out later, he was actually prescribing our protein to cancer victims. And he took me, we became friends, and he took me into his office, and he had all these medical books. And what's in the bran layer and in the bran layer in that, there's it's called P16, and then there's a couple different code names for it. But it has an anti-cancer that's been established 20 years ago. So actually, when he found out when people are converting to a plant-based diet, he would start curing their blood by doing their blood work at the Hippocrates. You know, their blood work would get very good, but when people leave there, sometimes people don't change their eating habits. So what we find out, the protein is a good substitute. Instead of start cheating on your diet with, you know, some steak or whatever, you know, because you're cleaning your bloodstream on a plant-based diet, the protein actually allowed people to, it had the anti-cancer in it, but actually kept people more, it kept them easier to stay on their diet. So that's why I look at our rice protein. It has an anti-cancer in there. Very absorbable by the body. But the only thing I could probably say, the lysine is good, but it's not great. So instead of me mixing a lot of other proteins with the rice, we decided, okay, let's investigate pea protein, which is very high in lysine. We started investigating, we have a cold fusion process with cranberry. You know, cranberry is another thing in itself. So our new protein is going to have a cranberry protein.